Hello and welcome to ETGovernment Chai Pe Charcha. This is a weekly interactive program where we bring high achievers from diverse fields discussing their professional journey, achievements, and ups and downs in their career. Today, our guest is Senior Indian Administrative Officer, Mr. CJ Venugopal, who is currently serving as the Chief Administrator of Odisha KBK region in the rank of Additional Chief Secretary. In a career spanning over more than 33 years, Mr. Venugopal has established himself as the top public sector leader with an extensive experience of administration, cutting across wide variety of sectors, including information technology, energy, renewable energy industry, physical and social infrastructure development. Mr. Venugopal, welcome to Chai Pe Charcha, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Mr. Ujaley. I'm very happy to be with all of you today. And thanks for your generous introduction too. Thank you very much.
Let me begin by asking you, this is more a kind of a journey type of a program. So let me begin by asking you, tell us something about your beginning as to how you started and how the idea of coming into service came in and what kind of preparation did you do?
I think the journey started a long time back. It's almost now I put in more than 33 years of service in the government. And this has been in the school. I was a reasonably good student, doing well in studies and having good marks in almost all the subjects. I used to do well, and I was considered to be, I would say, a good student. And I was doing well in school. And of course, I was also playing a lot of sports, especially cricket. And that time it used to be very, very popular. So cricket even now is more popular, even during our time. So cricket was something which we used to play both in school, college, and colony. And then we also used to have a lot of friends, both school and college. So it was a kind of growing up. Where both physical activities in the field was important. At the same time, we were also good at studies, and we are definitely doing good in studies, I would say.
Right. But what was the trigger? I mean, most of the IAS officer, if you ask, I think most of them would have been one of the top students in their class. And that is why they became actually IAS in the first place. But what was the trigger? I mean, when we are in 10th and 12th class, you are a bit confused. I think I'll share about myself. I thought from being an engineer up to the level of doing a course from National Institute of Fashion Design, NIFT, and ultimately I end up being a journalist. So I mean, your thoughts are very heterogeneous while you are in colleges, especially at 12th level. So what was the trigger which actually basically push you to think, no, I'll go for the services and I'll appear for the Indian administrative examination? And did you take multiple attempts? How did you qualify?
Uh, my father was also in the civil services. So I've been seeing him interact and with the citizens and seeing him work very closely. And there were several relatives also who were there in service. So I had some kind of an exposure from the beginning, seeing all of them. So definitely it was an inspiration from the parents and also from the peers and other relatives who were in this. And seeing the kind of good work that they were doing and seeing the kind of how they serve the people, and once resolve those issues, how they were feeling happy that their issues are getting resolved. It used to give me a lot of satisfaction when I saw that people were such issues were getting resolved. So till 10th, obviously, it was just 10th. We were passing out. Then 12th also we were just passing out. But we are still in that impressionable age, watching all this and growing. Then I joined REC Warangal. Now it is NIT Warangal, and for civil engineering. And there also we were doing focusing on engineering subjects itself. But then since the environment at home was where I used to watch all of them do service to the people, and the kind of satisfaction I see once in the people when their issues get resolved. So that used to give me a lot of ideas during that time. And then after my engineering, then I went to IIM Ahmedabad to do my PGDM. So even there also, we are doing management. I was focused on all the studies that I was doing, both in engineering and management. But over this period of time, once at home and you see parents, they were my inspiration, and then the peer groups who were also in this. I think that was when I thought, getting into the service was something is my calling, and that's when I decided that let me make an attempt into this foray. And fortunately, in my first attempt itself, I got into the civil services,
Okay.
and finished my PGDM from IIM Ahmedabad. Then same year I wrote the exam, and civil continuously preliminary mains interview, and then got into the service same year first attempt, and I've been allotted to an Odisha cadre.
Right. Right.
So I think the journey has been mainly the inspiration which I was getting from uh, the peer group and from the parents. And also, when I was watching them, I used to see the wide variety of jobs that they were doing. It
Right.
was not the same set of job every time. It was wide variety of sectors that they were working in, and then there were different type of jobs. Sometimes in one sector, sometimes a different sector. So the variety that one was getting was
Mhm.
also something which was inspirational, I would say. And you also get to do policy making, as you go at higher levels, and you try to do operational jobs when you're at the a different level. So it's a mix of everything that you get. So I was quite enthused that I should get into this services,
Right.
and mainly watching the citizens and how they are trying to their issues getting solved and how they're happy. So that's
Right.
when my calling was how to then I decided that I wanted to serve the most important
Right.
person in any democracy, that is the citizen of any country. So that's when I
Absolutely.
decided that I would
Absolutely.
serve the most powerful person in a democracy, that is the citizen of our great nation.
Absolutely. I think your father inspired you a lot, and at the same time, when you went to I am there, possibly the peers group and everybody inspired you, and then I think in the first attempt itself, you went into civil service. How are your kids placed? I mean, are they looking into the services, or they already have a career in corporate world?
As I said, I from a civil engineering, I moved on to become a civil servant.
Right.
So, and both my sons have done their engineering, and they've also done their MBA. But they are more into the corporate world, so they have moved on to the corporate world. So each person has to make his own choice. So they have
Absolutely.
decided to join the
Right.
corporate world. So after their engineering and MBA, both of them are in the corporate world.
Right. Will you also agree with the fact that, when you are actually appearing for civil services, possibly civil service was the job, but after the liberalization, and especially post 98, 95, I mean, the avenues has opened like anything. So there are, I mean, jobs which are equally as good as any other job, even in the corporate world. And therefore the young people are actually experimenting with it. So not necessarily an IAS officer son would like to become an IAS officer, because I met a lot of IPS officers and IAS officer whose kids are not really interested in being a civil servant. They are doing amazing work in consulting, somewhere in the corporate. So, do you see that change is happening just because of the fact that now people have more options?
Uh, that is one of the reasons where after liberalization things have opened up, more and more avenues have come up, and as we go by today there are more number of jobs, more variety of jobs, and the opportunities are much more than what it was earlier. But then civil services, I would not look at it as a job.
Right.
It is a passion. So you need to have that calling because you are serving, as I said, these citizens, and you need to be passionate. You need to be understanding. So I would not like to, say that civil services is a job. Civil services
Right.
is a passion towards nation
Absolutely.
building. So
Right.
it has to be an inner calling for anybody that yes, I would like to be part of this. So
Absolutely.
when I fully agree with you that the job opportunities are immense, and than what it was,
Right.
now it is much more, and the younger generation has a more variety than what it was. But surely the passion in nation building is different.
Absolutely, absolutely. I completely agree with you. For any IS officer, his posting as a district magistrate, the first posting, and maybe the first 3 year, 3 to 4 year, when you are district magistrate here and there, I mean, different districts, those are for most of them considered as a golden day of their services, and everybody will rejoice and go back. Would you like to share what was your first posting as a district magistrate? Was the challenge, and how do you recall those days today as being an additional chief secretary and mostly in and around in Bhubaneswar?
See, I was posted to one of the most interior parts of the state. It is called Kalahandi district,
Right.
and also it had a subdivision called Navapada subdivision. So now
Mhm.
today it's become a district, and these are one of the most interior backward areas of the state. And so I was posted to one of those districts as a sub collector, and later on also became collectors in one of those interior areas only. And the district where the subdivision where I was posted used to have very suboptimal or even lesser than what is available normally of any infrastructure of any services, I would say.
Right.
So the electricity would be available, once in a while.
Mhm.
Every, the all, and that time, of course, mobile was not there. Even telephone was a luxury, and
Right.
trunk call we used to get. If I asked the telephone operator there to connect me on a trunk call, then it would take me when I asked him, should I wait for some time? He said, no, sir, you hang up. I will give you a call. I will call back when you
Right.
get connected. So when I say when will I expect, he'll say the next 3 4 days. One of the days I will connect you on a trunk call. So that was the days when we were there in those interior areas. But today things have changed. So
Mhm.
similarly, the electricity used to be extremely bad. The network was not there. The transmission line was weak. So, but that was the kind of interior areas that we were posted and we were working there, and we worked there very passionately, very dedicated. We were going to the interior areas, working with the people of that area, trying to solve their issues that as it comes. It was very very challenging and very exciting, I would say.
Right, right. As you mentioned that there has been transformation in terms of the development as well, because for the first posting that you went as a district magistrate, there were a lot of challenges of electricity. I mean, the mobile connectivity, mobile wasn't there. I mean, landline was there, and it would take time primarily to even get one call connected. But we have moved from that era to a completely a mobile era wherein these things possibly the our generation might not be able to relate with that. So there is a huge transformation. I would like to understand from you, how do you look at this transformational journey within bureaucracy, I mean within services? Because in those days the ideal of your ideal would be a person of different stature altogether. Today you are in a time where there are different kind of a pressure as an officer to deliver. Citizens are more aware. There could be political pressure, there could be corporate pressure, there will a lot of things can be happening around you. That might not have been the case in the beginning. So how do you see this service in itself, a service evaluation from that era to the today's time?
Um, Definitely, there has been a lot of changes that is happening. More and more development is taking place. More and more infrastructure is in place, and what was considered to be luxury that time is now become a basic services. We had no telephone. So telephone, a trunk call that was supposed to be something which was now it is for taken for granted. So we have all the mobile services, telephone services, even electricity, which used to go off for a couple of days, and we were not connected. We were off the grid for a couple of days. That's the kind of situation that we were in. So today there is a lot of changes that's happening, especially on the infrastructure development. There are several changes that have happened. A lot of infrastructure has been provided. Technology is used much more than what it was during our time. Today, computers, laptops, mobile, internet, fiber grid, all this has changed the way that we conduct ourselves. And definitely, this is something which has improved dramatically. And as you rightly said, there are definitely several changes that has happened. At the same time, there are no changes in some areas. So I would just for uh, an example, I would like to mention to you how technology enables this. In Nawapada, when I was sub collector long time back, when the public distribution system food grains were being distributed, and there used to be a register being maintained at the fair price shop owner. And whenever any food grains, whether rice, kerosene, whatever sugar that is given to them, so they have to write their name and sign. So, being an interior area, the literacy rates also were very low. So, whoever was the beneficiary, he would go there and then he would give his fingerprints.
Right.
The thumb impression was taken, and based on that fingerprints, whatever the entitlement was being given to them. Now, same Navapada, I happened to visit, you know, later when with all this development happening a few years back, the electricity has improved, road connectivity has improved, fiber grid is there, mobile connectivity has improved. So I again happened to visit a fair price shop. Now, fair price shop, when I visited there, so again, whatever is their entitlement, they'll get their rice, sugar, and whatever as per their entitlement. Now, this time they were again asked to give thumb impression.
Right.
Now, only difference is there it was fingerprints. Today's thumb impression is called biometrics.
Biometric.
So they're all linked on a POS machine, and then they're linked to different databases, and then it gets updated, and automatically the whole process of identification, Aadhaar linked, and biometrics. So what was thumb impression earlier was a fingerprint. Today thumb impression is a biometric.
Right.
So when
Right.
I say that a lot of changes has happened, at the same time no changes happened. This is just an example.
Yes, yes, I completely agree. You just technology, what it does, it create an integrated platform, and on base of that, you are able to identify right set of beneficiary and deliver the services. Uh, 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 what we also notice, yes,
Yeah.
you were saying something.
Similarly, I was mentioning another example again in one of these interior areas where I was earlier working, and I happened to visit subsequently um, after 10 years, after 15 years, 20 years, when I happened to visit there. See, what the interior areas was again because of all the indicators of backwardness, lack of road, and lack of all the facilities. So they were doing what one called was natural farming.
Right.
So the agriculturists were doing natural farming without resorting to either fertilizer, pesticides, and they were doing natural farming. Now a lot of work went to it, and after 10 years, 20 years, when I again visited there, so now the natural farming now we call it organic farming.
Organic.
and what was being discouraged and what was not being sold during that time, 20 years back. Today organic farming has a premium, and it's
Right,
getting sold, and it's a product which is desired all over the world.
right,
This is how, that's why I said a lot of things have changed. At the same time, a lot of things have remained the same. So change is a constant, and we're always improving and we're always developing.
right, right. Now I would like to ask you something from the service itself, because as you said, a lot of things have changed. So when you were the district magistrate, possibly you would have a very integrated district where there are a lot of command in your power. Uh, but that is not the case with today's district magistrate. You have a PWD person taking care of road and all, then you have a municipal corporation person doing their work. So it's highly heterogeneous. So the role of district magistrate today has become a bit challenging, and he has become a kind of person who is trying to unify all these silos of governance so that the services could be delivered. So how do you see this change? I mean, has it benefited and has it decentralized things? How do you look at this?
See, yeah, at the district level, it is always the district magistrate who has been empowered over a period of time by way of practice, by way of policies, by way of regulatory requirements, and he is considered to be the leader of the team at the district. And in addition to delivering not only revenue and other related activities, but also coordinating with all the departments,
Right,
facilitating the implementation of the programs, and ironing out different issues that could be interdepartmental or requiring different clearances from the different authorities. So the role of the district head has become extremely important from the beginning, and it continues to be important. When we were there, the role was same. Today also it's the same. You are the central authority to coordinate all the departments at the district level, and you have been empowered to deliver results. So to that extent, yes, definitely, the role remains the same. But what has changed is the providing of basic services like road, water supply, electricity, and housing, public distribution system. These are some things which there is a constant improvement that's taking place, constant supervision that is required, and yes, that are being provided at the district level. So changes are minimal to that extent, but
right,
definitely the scale, the size of implementation of all these basic services, and also the operations, the infrastructure development, they've all increased dramatically.
right, right. One trend we also observe these days, which is by and large attached with the younger IS officer, especially after 2005 batch, that this is the age of social media. That was not there. Mobile was not there when you started. This is the age of social media, or anything can go viral. That means the situation demands a high level of decorum and discipline within the service. But over a period of time, I mean, in last 2 years, we have observed very discrete cases here and there. I mean, something coming from Tripura, something from Chhattisgarh, something from Assam, where an officer's behavior was not like an officer's behavior. And earlier might be there could have been some fringe cases here and there, but there was no social media, so it could not get the kind of attention that is getting today. So in that light, do you see that our young officer needs to be a bit cautious about what actually they speak, how they behave in public life, and whatever they do, because it could have a huge ramification, not only on their career but also on the people who are actually looking at them as an inspiration. I mean, young student looking at them to come to the service, citizen looking at them for service delivery, citizen service delivery, all those things.
I fully agree with what you're saying. social media today has become a big game changer in the society, and it has become part of our day-to-day life, not just in the public life, but also in our personal life. And one needs to be extremely cautious what you're doing in the public life, because it has several ramifications, some intended, some unintended. So, social media has a very, I would say, a positive effect if properly utilized to articulate a message,
Right.
to improve the well-being of the citizens. And we need to also upgrade our skills, so that how effectively we can use social media, so that there could be a wider reach, and could have a positive, deeper impact on the society. So for this, one needs to properly understand and utilize this tool very carefully. And as you know, social media also has a negative effect, in the sense that news travels fast, and the bad
Right.
news will travel even faster.
Fast.
So one needs to be extremely cautious and restrained in what they're articulating. So that's why it is important that you give the right message, which is a very unifying message. And social media could also be used as a tool for grievance writers forum. See, a lot
Right.
of citizens have their own grievances. Some of them are very genuine grievances also. So that also gives us an idea to understand what is their grievances, and the officers can also address the grievances on the social media itself. That forum could be utilized to understand
Right.
what are those, and if it's an individual case, yes, but if it's an issue based, one could understand and resolve those issues. So definitely, social media has its own advantages, and one should utilize it
Right.
for a better reach of the to the society. And technology, as social media, is a
Mhm.
great force multiplier,
Absolutely.
and the officials can use it to full effect in having a better interaction with the citizens, and trying to improve the public services, and trying to improve the various delivery of services that the government intends to do. So also several infrastructure development programs that are being done. I think all of it can be effectively utilized with social media also.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is why it really demands that whatever you do in public life as a public servant, it has to be under the civil decorum, and you should follow one of the finest standard of services. That brings me to young people who are actually young student who are aspirant for UPSC. And as you earlier said in the beginning, that being a civil servant is not like a job; it's primarily a call that you take to be in service, to do a kind of seva for a nation. But uh, but none of the services and none of the job is without any challenges. I mean, earlier when you started, there were some structural challenges in terms of the infrastructure. No electricity, um, connectivity was poor. All those things somehow have been addressed, but there are now new challenges emerging. So I'd like to understand from you, what are the two, three key things that young people must be ready to add in their life once they are in service? They should be ready for it. If you are actually thinking to become an IAS officer, IFS officer, IRS officer, be ready to face these few things. I mean, make yourself ready to face those things.
As I said earlier, civil services should not be looked as a job.
Right.
It is a passion for nation building, and it is an inner call that you want to take for uh, achieving to something, so that the citizens of the country benefit. And it's an effort that you do contribute in your little way towards nation building, because there are several other jobs which pay much more, or which gives you more facilities, and so you have other options also. So the fact that some people have chosen this, each one has their own reasons why they choose this. Like, for example, as I told you earlier, I wanted to serve the most important person in a democracy, that is, the citizens of a great nation. And that's why I choose to join the civil services. Now, definitely, the requirements are very, very. I would say, it needs a lot of personal discipline. It needs a lot of sacrifice, and it requires a lot of hard work. And when I say this, there are because these are some of the several requirements for the officers as they are in public life and they are serving the citizens. So discipline, I would say, is one of the most important part in any walk of life,
Right.
and civil services, for that matter, is not anything different. And I would also like to say that discipline has no holiday.
Right.
So whether it is in your public life or in your private life, wherever it is, discipline has no holiday. You need to follow it continuously, and you need to do it 24 by 7, 365 days, continuously, all every time. That's one of the most important thing that one needs to inculcate, and that's what the citizens also expect of the officers. It's part of the restraint, part of the decorum. The discipline would cover most of these
Right.
things which I mentioned. The other is there has to be a commitment and dedication towards nation building, a passion to work for the citizens, a passion to work for the voiceless, to understand their requirements, and then trying to address their grievances so that they improve their living standards. So the demands of the officers would keep changing depending on the kind of posting that they are in. If it's in an infrastructure development, there are a lot of infrastructure related issues that needs to be resolved, which has a different type of skill sets. If you are in the district administration, you need to resolve various issues that come up, so that's a different type of skill sets. So in all these one cross-cutting um, area
Right.
which every servant should have is how do you man management, how do you mix around with the uh, citizens, understand their issues and try to resolve them. I think this is one of the most important aspect that it is required. So hard work and passionate attitude towards the
Right.
citizens, and will enable you to be responsive to their needs. I think
Right.
this is something which the officers at all levels, wherever it is, they need to constantly inculcate this. So in this process of inculcating, you need to constantly be a student, learning, unlearning, relearning. Learning is a continuous process
Right.
that we
Right.
need to always keep doing this.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Uh, you have an illustrious career of almost around 33 years. And I know as an officer, you take a lot of decision in yes, no format, whether should be done or not to be done. And always there are two sides of the party. Somebody wants to be done, somebody wants not to be done. So that means that the chances of, facing an undesired situation is a bit high because people expectation is a bit high from officers. So did you come across a kind of very undesired situation wherein possibly you would have thought of okay, what I am doing here, and but somehow you manage yourself to be calm yourself and compose yourself and possibly let it go. So would you like to share any anecdotal thing that you that comes to your mind?
See, 33 years is a long career, and there are several incidents, and I'm sure 30 minutes would be very short to share all these experiences that I have.
Right.
But surely two or three which would be relevant. I would like to share one or two with you.
Mhm.
Again, let me start with I was posted in one of those interior districts.
Right.
Electricity infrastructure was very, very poor, and the power used to be restored after 3-4 days. So literally, there was no power in those areas for such a long time, and you can imagine the kind of situation uh, all of us and all the other citizens of that area were living in. So,
Right.
as head of the of that subdivision, I had sent a proposal to the then head of the electricity board that we need to strengthen the electrical infrastructure here, and we need to construct substations so that the whole infrastructure can develop. And so I had sent this proposal. After that, then after some time, then I got promoted, moved on, and posted to different places, transferred, and everything. Uh, After a few years, after my uh, posting, then I became the CMD of the same corporation, which was in the electrical infrastructure for this. So after reviewing with my officers, so out of since I was passionate in nation building, and this was something which was I was also passionate about. So one of the things that I asked him was whether this particular project which I had proposed, has it been done? So everybody said no. No, sir, it has not been done. And then I said, curiosity, I asked why. Then, of course, they had their own reasons. It was not viable. It was. They had their own reasons why it should not be
Right.
done. Uh, uh, I heard them out. Then after that, then I called the concerned people who had these reasons why uh, it was not to be done. Then I reasoned out with them that the infrastructure development, and especially development in the interior areas, should not be seen only from a profit motive, that it will develop infrastructure for the benefit of the citizens of that area.
Right.
So then, so that it has a lasting impact on the citizens of that area, and also develop all the sectors in that area.
Right.
So it took some time for me to convince all of them, and whoever had said that it is not possible, and they vehemently said it's not possible. But then I was convinced that yes, it is. Since I had gone through it, I have seen it. There's a need, and the people are asking for it. And I found that their reasons that they were mentioning is not valid. And then after the discussion, then I approved the proposal, which I had submitted.
Right.
And then I approved that proposal, and all of them were convinced that yes, it is to be done. Then the project is complete, and that was a lesson for me and for all the others. Then I said, okay, let's not restrict only to this particular one project, because there could be several other similarly placed projects, areas where the requirement is there, but it's not been addressed for whatever reason. Then
Right.
we did a thorough analysis, and we have developed infrastructure in each and every place of this. And today, the infrastructure, electrical infrastructure, is so strong. And when I happened to visit some of these places recently, whatever I had envisaged, whatever I had a vision that yes, every sector will get benefited out of this: health, education, health sector, education department, water supply, all the departments, all the sectors were getting
Right.
benefited because of this infrastructure that we have done, and the citizens were able to get better services.
Right.
So that's how one can make an impact in the kind of work that you're doing.
Right. 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 Any other anecdotal would you like to share? Maybe one more.
I would also like to share, in our interior areas, a lot of work needs to be done on the infrastructure development side.
Right.
And definitely, more and more interior areas, as you go deeper and deeper, the implementation becomes even more challenging.
Absolutely.
And because it becomes even more challenging, we sometimes tend to take the easiest option of doing the easier ones out and leaving out the tougher ones for a later part.
Right.
But I was always clear that every citizen has a legitimate right for all basic services that they are entitled to, and whether it is interior or nearby, whatever, it doesn't make a difference. One needs to make an effort to reach out to them, and yes, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, but then the effort has always to be there. So that was something which I was always keen on. And in the interior areas, there are primitive tribal groups in our mm, state. We call them particularly vulnerable tribal groups, and they are dispersed, scattered, small, spread out all over the place. And because of this, the reach has not been very either
Right.
the road connectivity or water supply. They've all not been reached. So what
Hmm.
we devised was a small, dispersed, scattered solar dual pump system for them, where drinking water was made available to each of these hamlets in the most interior pockets of the state. And almost all hamlets are now covered through solar dual pump, renewable energy operated water supply schemes. So
Right.
the interior areas, especially the particularly vulnerable tribal groups, very interior hamlets, all of them today they have this benefit of this. So also the bridges, like we have a lot of Bailey bridges have been constructed in
Right.
interior pockets. So the tribal areas have now been connected to the mainland. The interior areas, which otherwise was very difficult to travel today, have now been connected. So we have done a lot of work on the road connectivity side, on the water supply side. We've also done a lot of work on the electricity grid. We're also now working similarly on the fiber grid. So all these four grids, water supply grid, road connectivity grid, electricity grid, fiber grid, we are working extensively to reach the interior parts of the state so that every citizen gets the benefit of this.
Right. 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 Any close to heart accomplishment that you would like to share with us? Because most of the officers will at least have one uh, that, or possibly something somebody wants to do and is still yet to be done. Something in your mind?
There are several things that are close to our heart because we are very passionately we work. So it will not be appropriate to say which one is more close and less close. But definitely each of these interventions which I mentioned to you,
Mhm.
uh, they have made a difference to the citizens in those interior pockets, and that is something which is dear to the heart. It has made a difference to their living standards, and for which the people of that area have uh, benefited, be it
Right.
electricity grid, being water supply grid, whether it is fiber grid now, then the electricity grid. Each one of them has contributed immensely for their well-being. I think each one of them is something close to a heart, and
Absolutely.
I cherish each of those good things that we have done.
Absolutely. You were also the earlier you were the member of Board of Revenue, and you have been at the, I mean, the forefront of the Revenue Department digital transformation journey. And then there is a very special program of which is pushed by the Chief Minister, Mr. Naveen Patnaik, that is called the 5T program, which focuses on primarily using technology for improving governance, a kind of governance transformation with the help of technology. Would you like to share what kind of work did you do? What kind of progress has happened? And where do you see 5T taking Odisha to the next level?
Uh, our chief minister has been emphasizing on 5G,
Mhm.
and we are working very keenly on this. The entire team is entire missionary is working on this. In the Board of Revenue, one of the reformistic reform measures that we have done is the digitization of the land records.
Right.
All the land records of the state have been digitized, and today your encumbrance certificate can be available online. Registration of land could be done um, could be done offline, and all the information relating to legislation of land is available online, like your any data on land related is now available online, whether it is EC, whether it is the market value of the land, what is the stamp duty, what is the registration. It has become so easy for everybody. Like you have an income tax calculator. How do you calculate your income tax? Like that, if somebody wants to buy or sell, what is
Mhm.
it that is required to be paid to the government? It's all there's a calculator available.
Right.
All so the digitization, along with all the online, offline platforms being developed, has enabled the people to get the services that they deserve in a much more easier manner. So a lot of transparency has been brought in as part of this 5T, and we've also used several technological interventions in the revenue land administration, where all the land record data, both textual data as well as the map spatial data, are integrated and gets updated on a regular basis. We also have virtual courts. All the revenue courts today are virtual courts because of the pandemic situation that we have. So the virtual courts enables delivery of justice without compromising on public health. So that has been another important innovation that we have done, and it is doing exceedingly well. And as part of all these efforts that we are doing, definitely, 5T interventions of the Honorable Chief Minister has a great reformatory effect, and it enables for better delivery of services to the citizens.
Right.
And because of this, the lives of the citizens, to a large extent, gets improved. So that has been an hallmark in this, and we are focusing on, as I said, water supply grade, road grade, then electricity grade, and also the fiber grade, and
Right.
because of which there will be a huge impact on the delivery of services to the citizens. All this will enable faster, easier, better um, um, services to the citizens. And we are focusing on the infrastructure development, which we find is a key to ensure economic progress. And a lot of emphasis is being given on this infrastructure development in all sectors. And as part of 5T, the technology is being used extensively. And we find technology to be a great force multiplier, which has the potential for a greater reach and impact on the society. And so that the citizens get the full benefits of what the program intends to give them. And we
Right.
have been very, very successful in this. And we have a very good, strong, I've been fortunate to have a very extremely dedicated and committed cadre mates here in our state, and which makes the task easier and better. And all my cadre mates here in our state have been very, very passionate about the development works, and because they are extremely dedicated and committed, so my cadre mates here in Odisha, which makes whatever that we are trying to do in achieving the services to the citizens, it makes it much more easier and better.
Right, absolutely. Currently, you are the chief administrator of KBK region, Koraput-Balangir, and Kalahandi. I mean, these three regions are really important given the fact that large chunk of population in these regions are tribal, and since I mean the this particular region has faced a lot of structural issue, which you earlier mentioned, and again and again you said that there is huge interest of serving people in the lower strata level. So what kind of innovation, what kind of development is happening in these region, and how do you compare KBK from what it used to be 10 years ago and today?
Um, as in the KBK area, which I've been observing, I used to be a sub collector in those areas, which was about 30 years back, and now I also visit those areas. There has been a huge change in the area. A lot of infrastructure development has happened. Today, road connectivity has improved dramatically. Most villages are now connected up to 500 population. In some areas, even up to 250 population villages have been covered with blacktop roads. So definitely, road connectivity is something which has improved, and now the emphasis is on water supply to all the hamlets and all the villages. So that's something which has been going on. And on top of it, the electricity has reached with all the substations which I told you. The electricity has reached every hamlet, every village, and every household. So now the issues of quality of power needs to be addressed. But otherwise, yes, it has reached every household. Quality is a constant improvement that needs to do that we need to address every time there's a need. We need to upgrade and meet these requirements. So also the mobile and fiber grid is another area where a lot of work is being done to enable better connectivity. So there has been a huge emphasis on the infrastructure development, and
Right.
what it used to be earlier and what it is today. There's a huge difference in the infrastructure development and also in the well-being of the people. They
Right.
are much better off. Today, Kalahandi district earlier used to have a lot of challenges. Today, it is considered to be a surplus in
Mm.
rice production.
Right.
So a lot of irrigation projects have come up. More and more agriculture land is now being put to use, be it commercial crops, be it paddy, whatever. So the agriculture income has also gone up. The paddy
Right.
procurement in these areas have increased. So the general improvement has taken place. And yes, there is more and more requirements from the people, and the government is also very responsive and
Right.
attending to those requirements, whether it is school, whether it's education, health, all these sectors. We are addressing the requirements that are there.
Right. Mr. CJ Venugopal, we have completely exhausted our time. We have already crossed around 55 minutes. So thank you so much for your time today. And I think you spoke quite well on the IAS officer as to how you started, why you came into the services, some of the messages that you had for the young aspirant. And we also focus on some of the developmental work done in Odisha, especially in the KBK region. So thank you so much for your time and thank you for sharing all this.
Thank you very much. I think it was very informative, and it's a good learning for me also. And such interventions and interactions that we have, it's a learning for us also. And I would also like to mention that governance is a relay race.
Right.
It's a
Absolutely.
never-ending relay race,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and we need to constantly improve, and the goalpost always needs to be better and better, so that we serve the citizens, the improvements in the life of the citizens due to the various interventions that we take as part of our regular job, is the greatest satisfaction to any officer. So we
Absolutely.
constantly want to have that smile on the face of the citizens, and that is what gives us that satisfaction. Thank you
Right.
very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Wish you all the best.